Are live. All right, good. Good. So, good. We are live on TikTok, on Facebook, YouTube, and I think on Instagram too. Hey, all right, good. Awesome. And fantastic. All right. So, we are going to address all your immigration questions here, but first I want to address the most recent two changes actually. One was the second selection on H-1B lottery. So they didn't pick enough applications to meet the criteria for the first selection on the H-1B, and there was a second round of selection in the lottery. So there was a second bite at the apple, so to speak. So now we are having a second batch of applicants able to apply for their H-1B applications. Those applicants who have not been selected in the lottery have other options. Sometimes the employer, depending on the employer, they can select to have them still work for them, but from Canada. So we have a Canadian partner where those not selected in the H-1B lottery can go and actually apply for a visa to Canada and still work for the same employer until they have another option to work in the United States. And perhaps either do an employment-based application directly for a green card, or they can try to apply for next year's lottery or try to find other family options or other options later on. Okay, so the H-1B lottery is the main biggest change this weekend. So the second lottery just occurred this weekend. Most people who already were selected in the second round were notified, and applications should be starting. So that's what we have on the second selection of the lottery. The second thing is USCIS went back to the prosecutorial discretion memo from 2021. So that means we are still able to do prosecutorial discretions, and the enforcement priorities for people with removal orders are going to be different, and we'll see when these things are going to change. Okay, so far there is no news on an immigration reform, and we just deal with it every single day. So let's see if we have some questions so far. If not, I'll just continue with my talk. If you have any particular specific immigration questions, remember, I'll answer them, but they are very general because I cannot go into depths of your case, nor should you disclose your particular confidential information here. It's a public forum, okay? So my RFE 61 days after response for medical. What can I do? So you submitted your medical response, which is great. If they ask you for the medical, so I'm assuming that you are applying for adjustment of status. If they ask for your medical and you submitted it, they have everything they need, and they really don't have a deadline to make a decision on your case. They don't have to make a decision either, okay? They just wanted to either, one, make a decision, or two, they just want to make sure that you met all the criteria. When they get to your case, they have everything they need to make the decision. They can still call you for an interview. What we have seen those who have received an RFE for a medical, they have not been called for an interview, and they just get the green card approved without an interview. Not always. So your case was transferred to Philadelphia field office. Does that mean an interview? Generally, yes. If it was transferred to a local field office, it means an interview. So if they requested your medical and the request for your medical was not your local office, and then you got a transfer notice to the local office and that's where you live, you are probably going to be called for an interview. It's not always the case. It could get to the local office, in your case, Philadelphia, and they could be looking at it, say everything is fine, and they could waive the requirement to appear at the interview. Okay, so you might actually still get lucky. All right. 485 Kansas office processing time. If you tell me for what kind of application and what category, I can help you and look that up for you, but that's not enough information for me to look up. Okay, so it's 485. It's in the Kansas office. It's an asylum. Okay, so you already had your asylum application approved, and then you waited a year, and then you apply for your 485. Is that what you did? Just respond to me, and then I'll look it up for you on Kansas. Okay, in the meantime, let's just look it up. So let's see. In the meantime, while you're responding to the real, 2 children were under person that was petitioned, but recently had another baby within last year. So can they be added? Yeah, they could be added. So the 2 children, so initially, so you petitioned for someone, they had only 2 children, and now they have 3. Is that what you're saying? So they have another baby. If the baby was born after the application was done, it's called an afterbirth. It's fine. You can apply. The 3rd child can be considered in the application. You just need to submit the birth certificate and add them to the application. If your case is pending at the National Visa Center, you need to get in touch with the National Visa Center and take care of that there. If your case is already scheduled to be at the consulate, then you can take care of that at the consulate. If it's USCIS, you can do that here as well when the time you go for if you're in USCIS, then the baby was probably born here in the United States, so you don't need to worry about it. So do you want to tell me more about your case? So let's see. Yes, the kids can definitely be added. So let's look at Kansas for application for permanent residence or adjust status based on a grant of asylum that was more than a year ago. The processing time is listed at 30 months. 30 months. So this is about 2.5 years, okay? In the meantime, you'll have the work permit. Yeah, so Marielle, now they have 3 and they are still abroad, I'm assuming. You just communicate with the National Visa Center and you communicate with the National Visa Center and they will add the 3rd child to the application. It's very common, okay? It is very common, nothing for you to worry about there, okay? You just need to communicate and make sure that it makes it to the application itself. Okay, so good. If you guys don't have any other questions, how long does it take to process G1450? G1450. G1450. What's G1450? Isn't that the credit card one? Yeah, that's the credit card transaction. Depends on the application. That's not the, yeah, but that's not the separate application. That's not the way that works, okay? That alone, it's not the processing time. That's why I didn't know what you were talking about, okay? So that's not the way that works. That gets processed when the actual adjustment of status gets accepted, okay? So depends on where you filed the application. What is the location where you submitted your adjustment of status? So if you submitted your adjustment of status, say to the lockbox in Texas, generally speaking, within about a week or 2, you should have a receipt. We discourage every single one of our clients to use a credit card when they pay for any filing fee. It's impossible to track. Sometimes they charge the credit card and they never issue the receipt, and then you're fighting for your money back. There is no tracking. They can charge the credit card and it doesn't match the receipt. It's a nightmare. So we discourage all of our clients to use a credit card when they pay their fees. So if it's been longer than 6 weeks, you want to talk to your immigration attorney and you want to contact the lockbox where your application was filed and see if there is a way for them to find it, dig it out. Or you might want to file another application. Okay, especially extremely important, especially if the beneficiary is falling out of status, okay? You do not want to do that if the beneficiary is falling out of status, okay? Good, so let's see. Marcos, I'm a US citizen. My wife's case is at NVC. I got new baby last week. Congratulations. How to start process for the kids. Okay, so your wife's case is at NVC. You got a new baby. As long as you notify NVC, the new baby will be added to the application. Now, you are a US citizen. If you go outside the United States to see your wife, you file a consular report of birth abroad, and you can, your child is a US citizen. Now, of course, whether your child is a US citizen or your child needs to come here as a permanent resident along with your wife, it's a very, very case-specific inquiry. So you should schedule an appointment with an immigration attorney and determine if your child is a US citizen or not. It depends on how long you lived in the United States, after your 14th birthday, 15th birthday, on how old you are, how old is your wife, where do they live, where do you guys live, and all that. The law changes for that based on certain ranges that have absolutely probably nothing to do with your case. The law has changed significantly based on certain dates. So your child may or may not be already a US citizen, okay? So that's the first inquiry, because if your child's a US citizen, you go there, apply for a consular report of birth abroad, the child gets a passport and never has to worry about this ever again. Otherwise, your child has to go through the same process that your wife is going through, go through permanent residency, and then get here, and the child gets citizenship, okay? Nebraska. So adjustment in Lincoln, Nebraska. Let me see, okay? Hold on. Since you asked me the question and you gave me the information, might as well look it up for you, okay? But generally speaking, in Nebraska, you are usually just filing the I-130. You are not usually filing the adjustment of status. Okay, so where do you live? The gentleman with Nebraska, person with the name V, where do you live? Because you may have mailed it to Nebraska, but I don't know, okay? Eduardo, my wife filed I-130 16 months ago. I'm still waiting for approval. Yeah, unfortunately, that takes forever and ever. It's really impossible right now. And I'm assuming your wife is a US citizen, right? So she filed in Nebraska. So processing time for that, it's about 15.5 to 16 months. Okay. So if she is a US citizen, okay, and you are waiting for approval, it's about 16 months, assuming she filed in Nebraska. There is a lot more information that I would need to know. Okay. Eduardo, if you want to tell me more information, what's her immigration status? And do you know exactly where she filed? Maybe the location, so I can look it up for you. Okay. So what happens if my income wasn't good for the last year for a K-1 visa? Okay, so when you apply for a K-1 visa, the process is multi-step, okay? Not everything happens at once, okay? So you first are applying for the I-129F petition with USCIS, in which you're saying, please allow me to get my fiance to the United States. Once that is done, it goes to National Visa Center. By the way, there are delays there. So even after the I-129F is approved, it takes about 3 months to just get it to the National Visa Center. Significant delays there. All the other immigration attorneys that we talked to say the same thing. We are all noticing the same, okay? And then it gets there in a queue, and until the consulate says we are ready to schedule these people for an interview. So when you get to the interview, that's where you need to produce the financials. So until then, you don't have to worry about it. So it really depends on when is your fiance going to get to that point in the process. So if you think it's going to be this year, you can still file an amended return and declare more income if you perhaps had some sort of cash income, or you could find a joint sponsor. Okay, joint sponsor is always a good option. You also may qualify for a joint sponsor, may qualify on assets. There are options. Okay. Is there any age limit for coming into the US from India for teenagers? Not that I know of. Judson, I have advanced parole and travel document, and I traveled one time. Is it safe to travel again? Advanced parole and travel document are two different documents. Know exactly what you have. Do you have advanced parole or do you have a travel document? Each of them will tell you for how many times is that document valid. Some documents are only valid for one entry. Some documents are valid for multiple entries. If you are not sure, go see an immigration attorney. It's not worth it to try to travel if you are not sure, because you could be stuck outside. So depends. Was your advanced parole or travel document? What was it based on? Was it based on TPS pending, DACA pending, adjustment of status pending, reentry permit? What was it? Okay. All right. Marielle, hi again. Does applying to add third child affect waiting time? No, it does not. Marcos, you're welcome. Cash call. I'm waiting on I-485 for other workers. Cole, I don't know what that means. Eduardo, my wife filed, 15 months ago, adjusting the status in the US. I'm in removal with no court date yet. Okay, got it. So she filed 15 months ago, adjusting the status here. Okay, so you didn't file for adjustment of status because you're in removal. When you are in removal, okay, the court has jurisdiction over your adjustment of status, so you could not have filed for adjustment of status. You only filed for I-130, meaning your wife petitioned for you. It's about 15 months. You probably have at least another month or two to go, okay? If you have a court case coming up, a master hearing coming up, you might want to file a service inquiry if you are allowed, or you might want to try to expedite based on the fact that you have a court hearing coming up. If not, your lawyer can try. I'm assuming you don't go to court without an immigration lawyer, or at least if you know what's good for you, you don't. So you don't go to court without an immigration lawyer, then the lawyer can try, depending on how far your court date is, can try to get a continuance to get the court date pushed until you get the I-130 approved. But I don't know if you were here in the beginning when I said that the prosecutorial discretion memos have just changed again, and that is good for you. Because if you are in removal and you don't have any court date yet, you might be able to get the case dismissed, okay? So give us a call. It doesn't matter where you live. Give us a call. By the way, we help people anywhere make the United States their permanent home. We have clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live, okay? Give us a call and we might be able to, depending on your case, of course, if you don't already work with an immigration attorney, to see if we can terminate the removal case once you have the I-130 approved, or even before you get the I-130 approved, if you see that's not moving, okay? Adi, you did a concurrent filing, didn't get your work permit, but get my interview for this month. Why so? Because you might be getting your green card before you get the work permit. So that's not bad. That is actually very good, okay? So most people actually these days, depending on their location, they have been getting the green card interviews scheduled, or they actually are getting the green cards in the mail without ever seeing a work permit. So that's actually very good for you, okay? Needless to say, if you have an interview scheduled, you and your spouse want to prepare for that interview. You want to produce all the documents that you could possibly produce to show that it's a good faith marriage. I'm assuming it is based on marriage. If it's based on other categories, just make sure you have all your documents ready, based on employment, based on other family relationship. Okay, so good luck to you. I'm sure you are going to do just fine. And if there are any issues whatsoever, or you panic or anything happens, give us a call and we can try to guide you. Okay. Judson, yes. Is it safe to travel and return? I addressed it. Eduardo, yes. Good. Okay, so she's a citizen. Good. Fantastic. I'm waiting on 485. Other workers have been here on L1A since 2019. Other workers been here on L1A since 2019. Okay, so Cole, did you apply for 485? When did you apply? Because on some categories, premium processing is available. Okay. Eduardo, they said they moved your case in Queens. So that means they are going to call you for an interview. So you and your wife should be ready to go for an interview. You should be prepared. Okay. So it should be coming soon. The fact that they moved it, that means it's no longer at the central location. It's at the local field office, and it's a matter of when do they have enough staff to schedule you for an interview so you can go there, be interviewed, and hopefully get your approval notice. And after that, I'm assuming you're going to take care of that and hopefully get out of court. Okay. How we convert the visit visa to work. I am from Italy, but origin Pakistan. Okay. So if you are here on a tourist visa, you cannot work on a tourist visa. In order for you to start working, you need to change, your status from a tourist visa to a work visa. So you need to have an employer who is going to petition for you, okay, for some sort of work visa. I don't know anything about your qualifications, your job, visa options for you. The fact that you are in Italy, origin Pakistan, very little difference. It really depends on your qualifications, what you want to do, and so on. Hopefully we don't lose internet because weather is really bad right now here. Okay. So it really depends how you want. You do not actually get to convert, and the process is very, very long, and you probably will run out of status if you're not going to leave the United States before your I-94 expires. So you want to be extremely careful when it comes to that, okay? You should consult with an immigration attorney. How long is the New York office taking for swearing in ceremony? Interview was approved, but it's been 2 months. If it's been 2 months after the naturalization interview, you can do a service inquiry. You can go online and do a service inquiry and ask. It shouldn't take that long unless you are changing your name, okay? And that is the only caveat. If you are changing your name, Nikki, okay, then you are looking for a judicial ceremony, okay? It's not a regular administrative ceremony. The judicial ceremonies take place less often than the administrative ceremonies. And because of that, they are not, they're not every few weeks, okay? So you have to wait for a judge to be available to swear you in because you're also changing the name. So that's a legal proceeding. So that's what usually happens. That's what we normally see. But 2 months is a bit long. In New York, it is usually a bit longer. What we do see, it's about 3 to 4 months for the judicial ceremony. If it's no name change at all, then 2 months is a bit too long. And you want to file a service inquiry on that. My wife applied for her brother since 5 years ago. It's still at NVC. That's going to take a long time, and it really depends on the country. Applying for siblings takes forever. How long to interview after documentarily qualified in Islamabad for IR5? After you're documentarily qualified, I would need to know, Hassan, I would need to know the priority date, okay? And I understand you're documentarily qualified, and this is the biggest problem right now. It has nothing to do with your case. It really has nothing to do with your case. It is really about how much staff do they have at that particular consulate or embassy. What is the volume of applications that are in queue ahead of you? And remember, they all blame it on the pandemic. Please, they're going to be blaming it on the pandemic for the next 20 years. They're going to be blaming it on that. So there are consulates who have not scheduled any interviews since 2020. Okay. So it's very, very slow. So it could take a long time, unfortunately. And there's not much you can do. Okay. The only time you can actually get to do something is if you're, if there is a child that's aging out. Other than that, not much. Should I submit an 864 because my job changed and last 864 I submitted was in August 2021? Do not submit any new documents without the government asking you for new documents. When the government sees that you're missing something, you don't have enough income, they need more income, they need something, they need a medical, they need a picture, they need a signature, whatever it is that they dream overnight that they want, they will send a request. They will send a notice of intent to deny, a request for evidence, whatever it is, okay? They will send that, and only at that time you are going to submit additional documents, and only if they want it, okay? Don't send them any documents unless they ask for it, okay? They're never gonna make it to your file. It's gonna get lost someplace. You're gonna get frustrated. Wait for their request. It has a barcode on top. That's the only way it's going to make it in your file. I was waiting for interviews and medical 3 years. Why? I'm in Kenya. For the same reason I told the person in Pakistan. It takes forever. How much does it cost to file for a wife? A wife or your wife? It really depends. It really depends on what kind of case you are going to have. Is it going to be consular processing? Is it going to be adjustment of status? What is their immigration history, family history, your prior immigration history? It really depends. Even the filing fees with the government are different depending on your case type, okay? There is no simple answer for that. It's hilarious when we get phone calls from people that call our office and they ask, I just want to know how much is it going to be? I don't know. I don't know anything about your life. I don't know anything about how we're going to help you. I don't know. It's like going to the dentist and saying, the tooth hurts, and expecting the dentist to tell you how much is it going to be to fix it without the dentist doing an x-ray, looking in your mouth, seeing if it's one tooth or three teeth next to each other, if you need the filling, if you need the cavity, if you need the crown, if you need the root canal, if you have cancer, how they gonna know? The same thing with us. We do not know. We have no idea how much your case is gonna be unless you book an actual consultation. We discuss your case in detail. Nobody can tell you that question, that answer, okay? And if somebody actually gives you that answer, run. All right, let's see. So I got about 2 more minutes because I do have to go my next appointment. Okay, Justin, just because the advance parole is for 2 years doesn't mean that during those 2 years you can go back and forth. It could only mean that during that 2-year period, you get to live once. We would have to look at your advance parole document to see if it's one entry or multiple entries, okay? How long it takes NVC to approve a case for a minor child in the US. The case should not be at NVC if the minor child is in the US. Something is wrong. How long does it take to get approval for I-130 spouse at NVC if the spouse is from the Philippines? Well, where is the I-130 stuck? Is the I-130 stuck at USCIS? Did it already get to NVC? Is it documentarily qualified? Where is it? It really depends. Send us a message, put the message in my profile. I'll look it up for you if you answer me all those questions. Okay. I do have to go. If I didn't answer your questions, I'll be back online, I think Thursday, about the same time. Please put your messages there and I'll be more than happy to address them. Okay. Sorry, but I do have to go. Limited time. Thank you. Bye.